He looked me in the eye and said it like he was asking for the salt. "We don't have space for you." I smiled, nodded, and left without a word. What he didn't know. By morning, he'd lose the house, because I owned half of it. Before we start, don't forget to like this video, comment where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a story like this. So it started from here. I moved in with nothing but 2 worn suitcases, a folded quilt from my old bedroom, and a framed photo of my late husband, James. The day I handed my son, Josh, $180,000, the full payout from James' life insurance, I didn't hesitate. Not once. "It's your future," I told him. "It's our family's stability." He'd just married Megan, and they were trying to buy a 4-bedroom house in a Charlotte suburb. When their bank turned them down for the full mortgage, I stepped in. Megan hugged me like a Hallmark commercial and said, "We'll never forget this, Linda. You'll always have a home with us." Josh kissed my cheek and promised I'd never need to lift a finger again. The house was modern, sterile, echoey white walls, gray floors, a kitchen that looked like it had never seen a burnt pan. My room was downstairs, technically the guest suite. No closet, a twin bed, half bath, no shower. Still, I didn't complain. I was just happy to hear people in the mornings again. Josh made me coffee the first few days. Megan taught me how to use their Wi-Fi thermostat, though she huffed every time I needed help. We had dinner together. Once. By the second week, I started hearing things. Passive-aggressive things. Megan joking to friends that she lived with 2 kids and a grandma. Josh groaning when I asked if I could put up a shelf in the laundry room. Then came the little changes. The upstairs fridge got a padlock. Megan said it was because she was meal prepping. Josh moved the modem to the upstairs office. My Netflix stopped working for 3 days. One night, I overheard Megan on the phone in the kitchen saying, "She's sweet, but we need our own life. This isn't sustainable." I kept quiet. I kept cooking, folding towels, wiping counters. I gave them space. I smiled when Megan brought up turning the downstairs den into a nursery someday soon. But then I heard it. I was walking toward the kitchen one morning to make tea when I caught Josh's voice from around the corner. "She won't leave if we keep being nice. We've got to push her out without a fight." Megan's reply was sharper. "She won't sign her share over unless she feels unwanted. Make it uncomfortable. She'll leave herself." I stood there frozen, staring at the wallpaper that I helped pick out 6 days earlier. My son, my only son, was scheming to force me out. For a nursery, for more space, for convenience. That evening, I made chicken Alfredo, Josh's favorite. Neither of them came to the table. Megan said she already ate. Josh mumbled something about work and stayed upstairs. I sat alone and ate slowly, thinking about how I had raised him. Soccer games, lost teeth, emergency room trips, SAT tutors. I tucked every birthday card he'd ever drawn me into a shoebox I still carried in my suitcase. And now I was an obstacle, a calculation. The next morning, I was washing strawberries when Megan walked in, arms folded, face carefully blank. "Linda," she said, "we think it's time you looked for something more. Permanent. Just your own space, for your comfort. For ours." Josh entered a moment later, sipping coffee like nothing was happening. "We don't have space for you anymore, Mom," he said. "You need to go." Just like that. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, turned to face them both, and smiled. Not wide, not fake, just still. "Okay," I said. "I'll be out by tonight." Megan blinked. Josh nodded like he'd just completed a work task. "Thanks, Mom," he said, already turning away. I went to my room and packed everything I had. My clothes, James's photo, a paperback I never finished, and a red folder I kept buried at the bottom of my suitcase, the house deed. My name sat next to Josh's 49% co-owner. I didn't say goodbye. I ordered a cab and left without looking back. But I knew something they didn't. That house was no longer just their dream. It was also their ticking time bomb. And I had just lit the fuse. The cab ride to the extended stay motel was quiet. I sat in the back seat holding that red folder like it was a newborn baby, hands clenched so tight. The corner left an imprint on my palm. I'd booked the room a week earlier, not because I expected to need it, but because something inside me had whispered, "Be ready." The motel was clean, but sad. Faded carpet, a lamp that flickered if you touched it wrong, the smell of fried onions buried in the wallpaper. I paid cash for 3 nights and declined housekeeping. I didn't want anyone seeing what little I had. That night, I laid on the stiff bed with the TV on mute and stared at the ceiling while holding the deed on my chest like a shield. I wasn't mad. I wasn't even surprised, but I was done. The next morning, I used the motel printer to make 5 copies of the deed. 1 for me, 1 for a lawyer, if it came to that, and 3 in case I needed to hand proof to anyone who doubted I still had power. I was halfway through my second cup of diner coffee when the call came. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something in me said, "Pick up." "Ms. Carter," the voice said. "My name's Brad. I'm with Carolina Private Lending. You're listed as a co-owner of a property at 124 Grayson Park Drive." My heart slowed. "Yes," I said, cautiously. "Is there a problem?" Brad cleared his throat. "There's been a default. Your son, Mr. Joshua Carter, took out a $95,000 business loan using the house as collateral. Payments haven't been made in months. We've issued 3 warnings. He's in breach. Unless the loan is resolved, foreclosure proceedings begin Friday." I didn't react. I asked questions. I got details. Josh had borrowed money for a marketing startup that collapsed 3 months in. Megan either didn't know or was playing dumb. Both options made my stomach twist. Brad was polite but firm. I could stop the foreclosure, pay off the loan, or release my claim and let the house go. I asked him to email the paperwork. When it arrived, I printed it out, took out the same blue pen I used to sign Josh's first school permission slip, and wrote my name slowly, deliberately across every line. Then I scanned and sent it back. Brad called again within the hour to confirm receipt. "Foreclosure will move forward," he said. "Thank you, Miss Carter." I said nothing. I hung up, turned off my phone, and sat very still. Josh was about to learn what it felt like to be left without warning. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't post a thing. I didn't cry or call my sister or vent in a church group. I just sat in that motel room and listened to the silence I had been denied for years. Later that afternoon, I walked 2 blocks to a tiny grocery store and bought peanut butter crackers, instant coffee, and a small bottle of wine. That night, I toasted myself. Not for revenge, not for victory. For finally realizing I was never going to be treated like family again. So I might as well start treating myself like a person who mattered. At 8 a.m. the next morning, my phone vibrated with a message from Josh. "Did you cancel something with the house? We just got a weird letter from a lender." I didn't answer. 3 hours later, a second text. "There's a notice on the door." "Call me still?" I said nothing. At 3:17 p.m., Megan tried. "Linda, please, we're confused. Just tell us what's going on." I turned the phone off. Not to be cruel, to stay sane. Because if I heard one more fake plea from the woman who tried to erase me, I might forget that silence is sometimes the sharpest weapon of all. The foreclosure notice hit faster than I expected. Less than 48 hours after I sent the signed release, the sheriff's office taped a bright orange letter to the front door of 124 Grayson Park Drive. I didn't see it myself, but I didn't have to. Megan posted a panicked message in the neighborhood Facebook group. "Urgent, our home is being targeted by a scam. Please share resources if you know foreclosure attorneys." The irony made me laugh for the first time in days. I sat in my motel room drinking motel brewed coffee from a paper cup, scrolling quietly through her public meltdown. People flooded. The comments. Old co-workers, neighbors, even Josh's college friend Darren. "What happened? Can we help? I thought you guys were doing so well." Megan responded to each one like a desperate politician, never quite answering anything directly, just spinning it into vague hardship. "We're being betrayed by someone we trusted," she wrote. "Someone who should have protected us." That was when it shifted from comedy to something darker. Because within hours, I started getting texts from people I hadn't spoken to in years. My cousin Sharon, a woman from church, my late husband's sister. All of them asking the same thing. "Linda, what's going on?" Megan had framed it like I had betrayed them, that I'd somehow sabotaged their home out of bitterness. She didn't mention the money I gave, or the way they forced me out, or the loan Josh took behind my back. She simply played the victim. And Josh, he doubled down. He posted an old photo of us, me and him, when he was 5, eating ice cream in a parking lot, and captioned it, "It's hard when the people who raised you end up turning on you." No names, no tags, just pure manipulation. But I knew who it was for. The relatives, the mutuals, the people on the edges of the story who'd fill in the blanks with their own guilt and shame and assumptions. I was being erased in real time. I thought about defending myself. Thought about posting the deed, the proof of the loan, the texts. But then I remembered what my father used to say. "Don't fight people rolling in the mud. You'll only get dirty, and they'll enjoy it." So I stayed silent. Until the call came. It was from the sheriff's department. A polite man named Officer Reeves. "Ms. Carter," he said. "Just a courtesy call. There will be a formal lockout scheduled at the Grayson Park address this Friday at 10 a.m. You're not required to be present since you've already signed off, but we wanted to notify you as a listed party." I thanked him. I didn't ask for details. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept picturing it. Josh stumbling to the door in sweatpants, Megan crying on the porch, their things in garbage bags on the lawn. And still, I didn't feel satisfaction, just stillness. They'd chosen this, every step of it. Friday came, and I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in my room, made oatmeal on the motel microwave, and waited. At 10:42 a.m., my phone buzzed. No caller ID, voicemail only. I listened once, then again, Josh's voice low and furious. "I don't know what you did, but we're out. Gone. You ruined us, Mom. I hope you're happy." That was it. No apology. No regret. Just blame. Like I had tripped a wire they planted themselves. At noon, Megan sent a longer message. "Linda, if you wanted to hurt us, congrats. We're being evicted. I just hope you sleep well tonight. You've destroyed your family. That word your clung to me all day. As if it wasn't theirs too. As if I had no right to walk away from people who used me like a step stool." I turned off the phone, walked to the corner store, and bought a notebook. On the first page, I wrote, "Today they lost everything." And I found my silence. I sat down on the motel bed, turned to a fresh page, and kept writing. They didn't stay quiet for long. 2 days after the lockout, Megan posted a full breakdown on Instagram. 10 slides, pastel background cursive text overlay titled, "When Family Betrays You." Each frame told a carefully crafted version of the truth. They had opened their home out of love and generosity, taken in a grieving elderly parent, and were blindsided by legal trickery and manipulation. She called it elder abuse. The comments were brutal. Dozens of people who didn't know me piled on. Some people just want to control their kids forever. This is why boundaries matter. "You're so strong, Megan. Sending love." I kept scrolling until I found Josh's comment. "You did everything right. You protected our future." She chose destruction. I stared at that one for a long time. Not because it hurt, but because I couldn't believe he could lie that easily. There was a time he would have cried if I so much as scolded him for breaking a plate. Now he was painting me as a monster to strangers on the internet. Still, I said nothing. I didn't respond, but it wasn't over. Not even close. The next morning, I woke up to a knock on the motel door. I didn't move right away. I've lived long enough to know hesitation is sometimes protection. After a second knock, I opened it just an inch. It was a woman, mid-50s, vaguely familiar. "Linda Carter," she asked. "You probably don't remember me. I'm Doreen. I work with the City Housing Board. I saw some posts. I just wanted to hear your side." I blinked, then nodded. We sat in the motel lobby with lukewarm coffee and a vending machine humming nearby while I walked her through everything. Every dollar, every dinner, every insult I swallowed. She didn't take notes. She just listened. "I'm not press," she said. "I'm just tired of good people getting smeared by influencers with matching throw pillows." When she left, she gave me her card. "If you need help finding permanent housing, let me know. I have strings I can pull." It was the first kindness I'd felt in weeks. That night, I opened my email. Subject line: request for interview, Charlotte Local Magazine. I closed the laptop without reading the rest. I wasn't ready to tell my story on their terms. Not yet. But I did forward it to myself with the subject changed. Hold on to this. That week, Megan doubled down. She posted a TikTok video standing in front of a U-Haul mascara running Baby Bump, visible, holding a cardboard sign that said, "Evicted by my mother-in-law." It got nearly 80,000 views in 2 days. People in the comments tagged news stations. One woman offered to start a GoFundMe. And then, out of nowhere, my old church pastor texted me. "Linda, what is going on? Can I call you?" That was the final straw. I pulled up the deed. I pulled up the bank statement showing my transfer. I pulled up the email from Brad confirming foreclosure. I took screenshots of Megan's text. "Once she's gone, we can finally plan the nursery." Then I sent it all. To the pastor. To my cousins. To the church ladies group chat Megan still hadn't left. I didn't add commentary, just proof. 5 minutes later, my niece replied, "Oh, so she lied to everyone." Then silence. No one defended her. No one said a word. But I knew they saw it. I knew the thread had broken. Later that night, I got a new message. It was from Josh. "Please call me. Just talk to me." 10 minutes later, "I know things got bad, but you're still my mom." I didn't reply. Not because I hated him, but because some bridges don't burn all at once. Some crumble piece by piece every time someone you love decides you're disposable. I stared at the phone for a long time before locking it and sliding it into the drawer. Then I lay down on the motel bed and whispered into the silence. Still. Your mom. But not your fool. And for the first time, I slept 8 hours without waking up once. It started with a bouquet of flowers, white lilies. The kind Josh used to bring home from the grocery store when he was a teenager trying to apologize for denting the car or flunking a quiz. They were sitting outside the motel door in a cheap glass vase with a note that read, "Let's talk. Please, no name, just that." I didn't touch them. I didn't bring them in. I left them there overnight, and by morning, they had started to wilt. The front desk clerk asked if I wanted them. Tossed, and I said yes. That afternoon, Josh showed up in person. No warning. Just knocked on the door around 2 p.m. and said, "Mom, it's me. Can we talk?" I stared at him through the peephole for a long minute. He looked tired, pale, like someone who hadn't been sleeping. Just like me. Against my better judgment, I cracked the door open. 5 minutes, I said. He nodded like a child being given a second chance. We sat on opposite ends of the little round table by the window, and I watched him try to figure out what version of himself to be. Finally, he settled on quiet and sad. "I messed up," he said. "I know that. I should have told you about the loan. I shouldn't have let Megan talk to you like that. I panicked. I said nothing. Just waited. She's pregnant," he added, as if that explained everything. We were scared. I looked at him then. Really looked. And for a split second, I saw the boy who used to cry when I left for night shifts. But he wasn't that boy anymore. He was a man who had thrown me out of my own investment and painted me as the villain online. "I didn't come to argue," he said. I was wondering if you'd be willing to sign a document. Nothing big. Just something to help us negotiate with the lender to get back on track. That was the moment my gut screamed. He hadn't changed. He hadn't come for peace. He came because he still thought I was a lever he could pull when things got desperate. "Show me," I said. He hesitated, then pulled out a manila folder and handed me the paper. I read it once, then again. It wasn't just a consent form. It was a partial power of attorney disguised in legal jargon that would give him limited access to manage the foreclosure proceedings, which meant bank accounts, which meant my retirement fund. I set the paper down. "Get out," I said. He blinked. "Mom, out." He stood slowly like he thought he could salvage the moment. With one more line, "We're going to lose the baby's future mom." I looked him dead in the eye. "You already did." He left without another word. I locked the door behind him and stood there until my hands stopped shaking. Then I called the motel front desk and asked to be moved to a new room. Different floor, different hallway. They didn't ask why. I packed everything in 15 minutes and changed rooms before dinner. I blocked Josh's number that night. Not because I was angry, but because I had to protect myself from the part of me that still wanted to believe he meant it when he said he messed up. The next morning, I walked to the housing board office and handed Doreen the card she'd given. Me. She looked up from her desk and smiled like she'd been expecting me. "I want to move on," I told her. "Not just from them, from all of it." She didn't say, "I'm proud of you," or "You're doing the right thing." She just slid a folder across the table labeled Senior Housing Coastal Options, and on the first page was a 2-bedroom condo near Wilmington with a porch and ocean access and a rent I could afford with my pension. I circled it. "This one?" I said. That evening, I received one last email, this time from Megan. No emojis, no hashtags, just a short raw message that read, "I don't know what we're supposed to do now. We have nothing. I know you hate me, but think of the baby." I stared at the screen for a long time, feeling the heat of those words press against my ribs. Then I closed the laptop, made myself a cup of tea, and watched the sun dip behind the motel parking lot. I didn't reply. Not yet. Because what I was planning next wasn't a response. It was a reckoning. 3 days passed with no word. Then at 7:42 p.m. on a Sunday, there was a knock. I was in pajama pants, halfway through a cup of peppermint tea when I looked through the peephole and saw her. Megan, hair messier than usual, holding a bundled-up infant in a soft pink blanket and a diaper bag slung over her shoulder like a peace offering. I didn't open the door. "Linda?" she called softly. "I'm not here to fight. We don't know what to do anymore. Josh is falling apart. We got kicked out of the rental we found. They said we failed a credit check. Please. Can I come in?" I cracked the door 2 inches. Her makeup was smudged and her eyes were red. The baby, a girl, I realized, stirred slightly and let out a soft, fussy squeak. Megan rocked her gently. "Her name's Emily," she whispered. "She's yours too. Don't shut us out." That part hit harder than I expected. I hadn't known the baby's name. I hadn't wanted to. I opened the door and let her in. She stepped inside slowly like a guest who wasn't sure of the rules. She glanced around the tiny room and gave a tired smile. "You still like it cold in here, huh?" I didn't respond. She sat down carefully on the edge of the motel bed, bouncing Emily gently. "We really screwed up," she said. I said things I didn't mean. We were stressed, scared. I nodded, not because I forgave her, but because I wanted her to keep talking. "Josh is too proud to admit it," she went on. "But he's drowning. We both are. Our bank accounts are frozen. We owe over 10 grand in late fees and penalties. Our phones are on borrowed time, and I don't know where we go from here." I watched her the whole time, watched her lower lip quiver, watched her blink too fast when she talked about how lonely it felt to be in a world that had moved on without them. Then I noticed the brand tag still hanging from the diaper bag. I leaned closer and saw the logo. Posh Baby, a designer line I recognized from a catalog in the motel lobby. Retail price, over $900. That's new, I said, pointing. Megan hesitated. It was a gift, she said too quickly, from a friend. I said nothing, just stood up slowly and walked to the window. From there, I could see a rental car idling by the curb. A black SUV, not cheap. Not broken down, not desperate. You came here to get something, I said. She flinched. I came here to ask for help. No, I corrected. You came here to film something. I turned around fast. Where is it? She stood up. What are you talking about? Your phone, your purse. Whatever it is, I saw it in the bag's side pocket when you sat down. You're recording this. Her lips parted, then closed. We just wanted proof, she said quietly, in case you tried to twist things. I stared at her for what felt like a full minute. Get out, I said. Linda, now. I opened the door. And take the gift shop baby bag with you. She didn't move, so I stepped forward closer than I've ever been to her in anger. Let me be clear, Megan. I'm not your storyline. I'm not your villain. And I sure as hell am not your ATM. Get out of my room before I call the police. She picked up Emily slowly, clutching her close. She's your granddaughter. No, I said. She's your child. Raise her better than you treat people. Megan stepped out back stiff. She walked to the car and climbed in, and within seconds, they drove off. I closed the door, locked it, and sat on the bed without moving for a long time. My hands were shaking again, but it wasn't fear. It was adrenaline, because I knew what had just happened. Megan had come to bait me into saying something cruel on camera, something they could cut, edit, post online, turn into sympathy clicks, and I hadn't given it to her. I had stayed calm, but I wasn't finished. The next day I went to the courthouse and filed for a temporary restraining order. I included everything: the texts, the attempted manipulation, the visit. I even printed a screenshot of the diaper bag's retail price. The clerk barely blinked. You're not the first, she said. You won't be the last. That night, I returned to my room, opened my notebook, and wrote a single sentence. They brought a baby to play victim. I brought receipts. Then I turned the page and started listing names. People I trusted. People I didn't. People I owed nothing to anymore. Because the next time they came for me, I'd be ready. And they wouldn't see it coming. The restraining order came through 2 days later. A thick envelope stamped with a court seal slid under my motel room door like a final puzzle piece falling into place. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt prepared. The kind of calm you get before a storm. Not because you fear it, but because you've already boarded up the windows. I made 5 copies of the order. 1 for the motel, 1 for the police department, 1 for Doreen at the housing board, 1 for myself, and 1 I mailed unsigned and unaccompanied to Megan and Josh's last known address with a single sticky note attached. You wanted legal? You got it. That night, I finally responded to the interview request from Charlotte Local Magazine. I didn't ask for money. I didn't pitch a narrative. I just sent them everything. The deed copy, the wire receipt for $180,000, the foreclosure confirmation from Carolina Private Lending, the screenshots of texts, and the photo of Megan's brand new diaper bag. The subject line of my email simply read, "Since they want to talk, let's talk." The editor called me the next morning. Her voice was sharp but kind. "We believe you," she said. "Would you be willing to go on record?" I told her yes, as long as they included 1 line from me at the top. This is not revenge. This is clarity. The piece ran the following Sunday, a 3-page spread titled "When Help Becomes a Weapon, One Mother's Account of Financial Betrayal." It didn't go viral overnight. It didn't crash websites, but it got enough traction in the Charlotte community to ripple. People started talking, not gossip. Discussion the same. Facebook group where Megan had cried eviction weeks earlier was now debating housing ethics, inheritance rights, adult children's entitlement. My name popped up, not as a monster, not even as a victim, just as a person, someone who had been erased, and then quietly written herself back in. But that wasn't the moment I knew the tide had turned. That came the following Friday when I walked to the local coffee shop and saw Josh sitting alone at a corner table, hoodie on, staring into a cup like he was trying to find his reflection in the foam. He didn't see me at first. I almost kept walking, but then he looked up. Our eyes met. He didn't flinch. He didn't wave. He didn't even blink. Just looked. And in that look, I saw it. Not regret, not shame, just distance. The recognition of a bond that no longer existed. I kept walking. But I didn't cry. That night, he emailed me. No subject line, just a short message. I read the article. I won't contact you again. I'm sorry you felt like you had no choice. Not sorry for what he did. Sorry I felt like I had to respond. I archived it without replying. The next morning, the hotel manager knocked gently and handed me a stack of forwarded mail. At the bottom was an envelope with a real estate agency's logo and a note from Doreen. You've been approved. Keys are waiting. I opened the listing details. 2-bedroom condo. 2nd floor unit with a view of the water in a quiet Wilmington complex for retirees and veterans. Move-in date next Friday. Rent just under budget. I stood there holding the paper and realized I'd stopped checking over my shoulder for knocks. Stopped flinching at unknown numbers. Stopped doubting my right to exist without apology. Later that evening, I updated my will. Removed Josh's name. Allocated everything to be split evenly between a local domestic abuse shelter, a literacy program, and the animal rescue I used to volunteer for. Then I wrote one last email to my lawyer with instructions. If he ever challenges this, send them everything. All of it. Publicly. I didn't wait for a reply. I knew he would handle it. The final text came that weekend, from a number I didn't recognize but immediately knew. It was Megan. Just 4 words. We lost everything. Congrats. I read it once, then deleted it. No reply. No reaction. Nothing left to say. I spent the evening packing my things for the final time. Not because I was running, but because I had finally stopped. They started this story by saying there was no space for me. They ended it by proving I never needed their space at all. The condo was smaller than I pictured, but brighter. Sunlight came in wide across the white walls and settled gently on the laminate floors. I stood in the doorway for a full minute before stepping in, letting the silence hit me like a breeze. No shouting upstairs. No footsteps pacing angrily. No fake apologies. Just space. My space. The movers were late, so I dragged in the essentials first. My red folder, the framed photo of James, a small suitcase of clothes. I left the rest in the car. I made a cup of tea using the ancient kettle the unit came with and walked on to the little balcony. The ocean wasn't visible, but I could hear it. That was enough. My phone stayed on silent that week. I didn't check social media. I didn't call old friends to explain. I just unpacked one drawer at a time, filled the fridge with things I actually wanted to eat, and watered the 2 plants I bought at a roadside market on the way down. On Wednesday, I took a walk along the boardwalk. Nobody recognized me. Nobody stared. I passed a bookstore, a pier, and a seafood shack, where a woman about my age was painting seashells at a folding table. She smiled and offered me one. Pick the one that calls to you, she said. I chose a blue one with silver edges. Good choice, she said. That one's for people who've just let go of something heavy. I thanked her and put it in my coat pocket. That night, I placed it on the kitchen counter next to my keys. I named it Peace. Days passed, then a week, then 10 days. I got into a rhythm. Coffee at 8, walk at 10, journal at 3. I signed up for an art class that met every Tuesday and Thursday in the rec room. My instructor's name was Walter. He was 70, wore suspenders, and told the worst jokes I'd ever heard. He also remembered my name on the 2nd day. One afternoon, he walked over to look at my canvas and said, "You paint like someone who's survived something." I smiled. That's because I have, and I meant it. I didn't talk about Josh. Not to him, not to anyone in the class. The past was a sealed drawer. I had no interest in reopening it until the letter came. It was handwritten in Josh's messy script, postmarked from a P.O. box outside of Charlotte. No return address. Inside were 4 lines. I know I can't undo what I did. I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to know I'm trying. I named her Emily Linda Carter. I read it twice, then folded it and placed it in the same drawer where I kept the deed now void. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just let the words sit. Later that evening, I took a walk to the beach. I stood barefoot in the sand and listened to the waves for over an hour. I thought about the girl named after me, about the man who used to be my son, about the boy who once brought me flowers from the neighbor's yard and cried when I called them stolen. He was gone. But somewhere out there, maybe someone better was being born from what he ruined, and that I decided wasn't my burden anymore. I turned and walked home. The lights in the condo glowed soft and golden. I curled up on the couch with a blanket and a book. No drama, no closure emails, no family feuds to navigate. Just the quiet sound of someone choosing peace over permission. My phone buzzed once more before I turned it off for the night. Unknown number, no message. I let it fade. Then I whispered the same 5 words I'd carried since the day they pushed me out. No space here either. Goodbye. To this day, I don't know where Josh and Megan ended up. Maybe they figured things out. Maybe they didn't. I just know I'm happy now, and that's enough. That's it for today. What would you have done in her place? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love reading what you all think. And hey, if this story hit you, check out these videos too. You won't want to miss them.